This is our 96 K1500 four-wheel drive Cheyenne, and it's got the 5.0 in it. But it had a short block in it. You know how people say they put an engine in it or something like that. And I had to get the transmission rebuilt on it. And when he pulled the bell housing off, you could tell it's a brand new motor. And then we pulled the valve covers off, and everything just as clean as a whistle. I had to do 3 or 4 of them. I had to do about a 1/16 of a turn, so you couldn't spin the push rods. So that one I got to do a little bit more. But the valley's nice and clean. And I think what he did is he spent some money on it, and it still run like crap. Because when we picked it up, it was running like a dog. Couldn't barely get it to run. And I looked at the intake manifold, and the dumbasses who did it used the wrong bolts. I don't know why they didn't save them, because they're not like head bolts. You can reuse them. But they put a nut on there as a spacer to hold it down, and I know damn well that wasn't going to torque down right. I had 3 of them that were completely loose, and one, they had put a ground wire underneath the bottom of here, copper, and you know that copper will compress, but as time goes on, it'll keep compressing and get loose. So that was just some stupidity on that guy's part. Then he had one on the very front, and none of the intakes have that little stud for brackets and things like that. And he had that on the front. You can see the top is bent a little bit. But they all came out. They weren't torqued down right. These intakes, you got to do it in 3 phases, 3 different settings in the same pattern to get it torqued down right. Like I said, I hate these intakes. And we're taking the one that came off of here, and we're going to go ahead and have it vatted. Clean it up real good like I did on my Suburban. And the plenum looks good, and it had the updated fuel injection spotter where the injectors are at the bottom where it goes right into the intake, because they had an older style that it wasn't as good. They didn't run as smooth, and the gas mileage. All right, on this one I had a problem that drove me nuts. This is the this goes to your EGR valve, and it comes off your exhaust manifold in the back. Now the nuts would not spin on the end, and all you could get it to do is to twist it, and this is aluminum pipe. So I had to take me one of the little stubby hacksaws and cut them off. But all it is aluminum. I'm going to take it to a place called I'm putting the one on it from my Suburban. And this is what it's supposed to look like, where your nuts on the end spin. So I'll put something on there, some no-sees, but I'll use this one here. And it's got the bracket where it's supposed to. And I could tell this guy put this together was a dumbass, because he didn't use any of the brackets to put the wires back where they belonged. And let's see, I had this one that goes to the AC compressor, and it was stuck to it, so I got to check them wires. And then this main big one here, it was stuck to it, so I got to pull this big one that was stuck to it. I got to pull the loom off so I could pull them wires out separately and see if any of them got burnt through all the way, or it was just insulation, because I can deal with just insulation. But it's a pretty big job. Now actually doing the intake and the valve covers and all that kind of stuff's easy. It's getting all this other crap out of the way, and this thing's got a ton of sensors and it just, that's the thing, because I've busted it. I could take off an intake and a carburetor on an old school Chevy in a half an hour. But this took about 6 hours to get it down to this. So if you guys are going to work on these, this is my 96 manual. I bought them on eBay. Between the two, it cost me $300, and they're both in excellent shape. And these, like I said, have all the torque specs, diagnosing, parts breakdown. They show you everything. So if you're going to get serious about fixing these ones up, you need to get that. I should have stuck with those 80 square bodies. I had 2 real nice ones, and I bought my Suburban, and I liked it so much. I was moving, and I had to sell my cars, and they had my old trucks. I didn't drive them every day, so I started buying these. I think they call them OBS. So this one is good. We got to put some ball joints on the front. I dug holes where I could get that sitting down in a hole, because that thing is way too high, and I didn't feel like having my knees on the front and having to bend over so bad. So we'll just dig it out a little bit and put it in 4-wheel drive, because all that works good. We've had this a while. Now he hasn't put new tires on the front. Now he's got new ones on the back, we went ahead and got some Goodyears, and I don't know what the size is, but they're perfect size for this. And I got some aftermarket center caps here because it didn't have them. It looked like shit. And I'll replace the lugs with some of them long ones, them chrome ones. Those are all them guys taking tires on and off or just jamming them up when they were tightening them up. So I'll have to mention that when I'll probably put my chrome ones off. All right, and again, if you guys are going to work on these old trucks. Now, I live in the woods. Let me see if I can. I work in the woods, so I bought me a pressure checker. They got me a good set of pickle forks, and I got a chisel. So I've had to replace a pitman arm and a idler for the center link. And then, of course, you got to have a harmonic balancer puller. Got to have that. And then your power steering pump pulley remover. And that is a harmonic balancer installer. So I'm not a big fan of putting the impact on there and driving it back with all that vibration. So, and it works good. I've used it, I think we had to replace the harmonic balancer on this. So these are these OEM tools except for this, except for that and that. But these are, that's that brand. You can buy them on Amazon pretty cheap. They're good. They're not the greatest quality, but if you just use them every so often, I've only used that once, and I've used that 3 times. And if you pay attention to what you do, you're not going to wear them out. Because this is what they loan out at AutoZone. I've seen some that were pretty messed up, but they still worked. So, and I didn't want to drive into town and borrowing tools. Something else, if you're going to get to doing like I'm doing, you got to have a bunch of good O-rings. Because anything that's got a sensor or something that's vacuum, I'll pull off the O-ring and put me a new one on it. Now, crush washers for changing your oil. This is like $17 on Amazon. Now, there's a couple that I can't use. But when you go to buy these at AutoZone or something like that, they're like $2.99, $3.99 for one. So I got me well over $100 worth of crush washers. So I just change it out every time I do the oil. And this, underneath the hood, I replace all the wire loom that's fragile, and these things like to break. Anybody's ever worked on these Chevrolets or anything, these things like to break. And this was, I think, 20 bucks, and I won't use it all. I've got one bigger size, that main wiring harness that goes across there, and I think that is a 1 inch. So I'll just buy me some 1 inch ones and get it out of the way. So let me see if there's anything else. Now, this is an original paint job, and the son's got to wash it so we can wax it. It's an original paint job, which is nice. The interior, we haven't done the cosmetic yet. We're working on getting it all mechanical, but the interior's in good shape. Now, we got to do a headliner. We got to do that plastic liner in the floor instead of carpet, and then the seat needs to be recovered. So we'll do all that at the same time, but it's in good shape. We only paid $2,300 for it, which is not bad. But I tried to talk my son out of it because I knew it was going to need a lot of work. And of course, about 6 months later, we had to get the transmission rebuilt. I had to do that in my Suburban. Those 4L60Es will last forever, but if you don't take care of them and don't keep them cool, because anytime I buy one of these OBSs, I always change the water pump, thermostat, and the radiator. So that'll make your transmission last a lot longer, especially if it's gunked up. And the radiators ain't too expensive now, and that's probably about a $250 job. And the water pump's real easy to get to. Don't have any brackets on it. Got a couple bypass hoses here you got to take off, but that's no big deal. So, oh, and that sucking water through that exhaust manifold, we would drive it, and then we would park it, and the reservoir would glunk. You have a glunking noise like it was sucking water in there back down into the engine. I'd never heard a vehicle glunk, glunk, you know, going like that when you turn it off. And the last time we drove it, we didn't drive it far. It used a half a gallon of water. I think we were running into town. So we stopped driving it. I didn't want to get a bunch of water in there and hydrolock anything. So, and the gasket set, my son ordered one on Amazon. They sent the wrong one, but the gasket set I'm using on my Suburban is the same one. So I just went ahead and pulled it from that, and I'll buy me another set. because that's the Felpro gasket sets are really good. All right, I think this is going to be the last part of this one, and I'm going to go to my unicorn. And of course, it's going to be a separate video, but you got to watch my unicorn.